Hi there, this is Outdoor Gear Chat. We're talking episode 34 today, which is women's technical clothing, fit and function. I'm joined as always by Cathy. Hi, Cathy.
Hi Wayne, I'm Cathy Casey and I'm co-owner and director of the Climber shop in Ambleside and the Joe Brown's shops in Snowdonia. And we are going to talk about women's technical clothing, fit and function, but we're going to look at this from two very different angles, mostly size angles, because I am a size 12, which is fairly bog standard, but I'm smaller than the average British women's UK size, which is a 14. And something that we've been looking at very, very carefully as a retailer over the last few years in particular, is how we can accommodate the broad range of people's sizes. And I think it's something we've seen in the Olympics. There was a brilliant advert. I can't remember which Olympics it was. It might even have been the London one. And it showed all of the different key Olympic athletes and their different body shapes. So they're all absolutely at the top of their game when it comes to sport. But they are incredibly different shapes depending on the disciplines that they follow. So we're joined by the wonderful Suzanna Cruikshank today. She is going to help talk us through from a different angle, different side of things, because Suzanna is an open water swimmer, which is something I don't do a tremendous amount of, but she's also a walking group leader, an author of Swimming Wild in the Lake District, which is a brilliant book highlighting the most beautiful and wild swimming spots in the Lake District. But she's also an outdoor professional, an open water lifeguard, qualified in water safety group management, a qualified walking group leader, and a trainee hill and moorland leader. So absolutely an outdoor professional. And I know, Susanna, you're a very big advocate of clothing for all women, whatever their body shape, to get out and enjoy the outdoors. So welcome, Susanna. Thank you for joining us.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Hi, and one thing that Cathy didn't mention there is you are your publisher's all-time best-selling author from a woman, aren't you?
Yeah,
Best-selling female author for them. Yeah,
brilliant,
fantastic. And are there any good pictures in the book?
I knew you were going to ask me that. I should have been prepared for that. Yeah, there was some half decent ones from Fellfoot, I think, maybe Coniston as well. Got this really dodgy swim model who insisted on having all these pink accessories.
So for those listeners, Susanna and I met when you were producing the book.
When I was writing
ago now. So I do appear with friends and family in the aforementioned book. So an ongoing joke. I have to ask the question every time it's mentioned.
Oh,
sorry,
are we talking neoprene or speedos here?
No, it was neoprene on that
occasion.
Thankfully, yeah. The speedo deal came after that point. Anyway, sorry, I've got completely sidetracked the conversation there. And sorry, flummoxed myself and you. So, guess Susanna, it is really important to encourage everyone to be able to get into the outdoors. And I guess you two meeting was around that subject, wasn't it? About how clothing might not work for women of different sizes.
Yeah, absolutely. And I can look at it from several angles, because I'm someone who is bigger than I used to be. So I've got the experience of coming to the Lake District as someone who had no experience of the outdoors, but knowing that I wanted to get into it and being able to buy things relatively easily, to then having some lifestyle changes, things that have happened in my life that have subsequently led to putting weight on, and now not being able to buy anything pretty much in any of the shops. In sort of when I lived in Keswick, it's an outdoor shop mecca, and you can't. When I put weight on, I found that all the places that I'd normally go to get my things couldn't do it. There wasn't anything there available in my size. So yeah, I can bring sort of both perspectives really. And as a swimmer, you don't really need that much kit, so it wasn't that difficult. But in sort of my other roles as a walking group leader, yeah, you need exactly the same things that anyone else would need as a professional to go out and walk in the hills. And not having that equipment or not having access to it, it does make your job more difficult, definitely.
And that, I guess, the larger brands that have the higher technical clothing aren't
Yeah.
producing that in sizes, I guess, is that the crux of it?
Yeah,
So,
definitely. Like you can go into Mountain Warehouse and you can get things, and brands like Regatta as well, which, you know, I don't want to be snobby about it because they're still adequate, but then it's not as good as having a Rab jacket or a North Face or mountain equipment or any of the stuff that I used to really enjoy wearing. To all of a sudden you're like, oh, okay, so I've got to wear this material that, you know, it's not as good, it's not keeping me as dry, or it's not working as well. You know, I wear a lot of Paramo, which, you know, it comes in sort of more of a unisex fit, so you can get slightly bigger sizes, but then they start to get a little bit baggier and they don't fit as well as if it was, you know, a specific women's fit. But, you know, I was talking to a friend who she's very intimidated by going into outdoor shops, and gets a lot of stuff from Marks and Spencer's, which is fine if you're going for a walk around your local park or something, but you're probably not going to go up to the top of Scarfell Pike in a Marks and Spencer's jacket, are you? You know, you want to have the same things that everybody else has.
Yeah, it's a really interesting point, and one that came up when we first sort of talked. I know we kind of chatted as a result of your tweet, actually, Suzanna, asking us to stock larger size clothing, and it just came in at a perfect timing. So I was really grateful that you got in touch.
And just interjecting there, Cathy,
yeah.
you did do a like a symposium or something like that.
We
did you?
did.
You did record
Yeah,
that,
but
and
this
that's
led
available
on.
to listen back to.
Yeah.
Because literally from that tweet, I got in contact with, or we started talking and had a conversation, and the idea for an online symposium came up. I think it was lockdown at the time anyway, wasn't it? So we were just trying to think of things that we could do.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, that's a great idea. And then without even breathing, Suzanna put together this fantastic just group of ladies to host the event, of a real diverse range and experience. And it was super. We had a really large group of ladies join us online. There was loads of really good feedback in the live chat as we went through. And as a result, certainly from my part, I was able to take notes from all of that and share that symposium with our key suppliers who did take note. And really, as a direct result of that symposium, we now have it's a small, select but growing collection of ladies' technical clothing from Mountain Equipment and from Rab. I think there's some sprayway in there as well, up through size 18 to size 20. And those are on our shelves now. That's a mixture of down clothing, waterproof clothing, and soft shell trousers. And there's a broader range in spring, not huge. I don't want to get everybody's hopes up, because it's a slow progress. For a start, just getting any technical product from concept to shelf on our shelves can be about 2 years basically. So it's a long process, but I thought it was really important for to be a conduit really for the voice of ladies to get through to the brand, so they could hear that, and they have started to react as well, and we're actually able to back that up with having product on our shelves, which is a huge stride forward, but we need to now work to promote that. So people understand that stuff's available.
And I guess we'll come back to the question about shops in a short while, if that's all right. But just sort of rolling it back for me in simple terms, what is different? You know, Suzanna, you're saying you wear Paramo, which is unisex, but it's cut in a particular way. What would differ in a female only clothing then? What would the differences be?
I've tried to think about it from a more general point of view, so I'm not just focusing on, you know, the issues that I have for my particular body, buying outdoor clothing. But one of the feedback that I get quite a lot from a lot of my female clients and friends and people that spend time in the outdoors, it's always like trousers and hips, and understanding that you know, and this can be at any size, but in bigger bodies, when clothing is taken from like its sample size and then sized up through the range, a lot of the time they get longer and in the body instead of wider. I mean, it's not as if that, you know, a woman that's like wears a size 18 or 20 is automatically 6 foot tall, but traditionally a lot of the manufacturers have felt that, you know, and I wore a size 18 and I'm like 5'5" or 6, so not massively tall but not short. So you want things to be bigger but not necessarily longer, if you get what I mean. You know, the arms don't necessarily need to be long. Like I've got a couple of jackets from Alpkit, who were one of the first brands that started doing plus size clothing, and their size 18 jacket is great, but the arms come all the way over my hands, because I don't know what they must think that we're doing with them or what our bodies look like, but they think we've got very long arms as well as very big asses. So you know, it's just having, the brands need to discuss more and open themselves up to feedback. But so I think trousers as well. Every time you get onto the subject of plus size clothing, it's always the trousers, like not having enough rise in them. And you know, anybody doesn't want to bend over and have their bum crack showing, right, you know, when you're out and about, and you don't want your jacket to be riding up. But if you're curvy, and if you have got big hips and lumpy bits all over, that whatever you're wearing, it needs to give in the right places, so that when you bend over, you're not having, you know, rain going down your back, or your jacket's not bunching up underneath your backpack. And it's all things like that that are really important to be taken into account, that we're not all athletes, you know, and we're not all the traditional you know, mountaineering kind of figure where someone's, you know, a very straight size, very athletic. That's not the norm, is it? People come in all different shapes and sizes, and I think we don't want all the brands to fit all the people, but knowing that some brands do. You know, when I'm recommending wetsuits to my clients, I know that certain brands are fantastic. If you're sort of tall, average shape, athletic shape, there's a brand for you. If you're a little bit shorter, a bit curvier, there's a brand for you. And knowing the difference between all the different manufacturers is really vital when you're recommending stuff. And I think that's, you know, we're going to come on to our technical shops intimidating. Mm-hmm. Having really shop staff that know what they're talking about, and looking at someone saying, oh yes, I know that person needs a rab jacket, or hang on a second, you know, mountain equipment's going to suit that person better. So yeah, information, I think, is the key thing.
Yeah, we'll just carry on with that line of comments.
Rambled on a bit too much then.
No, not at all. Sorry, no, you absolutely didn't. You did not at all. But yeah, I guess maybe carry on with that about shops being intimidating now while we're on the subject. Then what is it about the shops that would, you know, shops generally, that would put people off going in there?
Oh, it's really difficult, isn't it? Because I know you can't cater for everybody. You're selling to a wide audience. But I know certainly as soon as I gained weight and realised that I wasn't going to be able to buy anything, like I wasn't going to be able to walk into Cotswolds or even, you know, the climber's shop, which I just stopped going in, because what's the point? You know, I could go in and fool myself and like put on a men's jacket, which, you know, in an extra large, and know that it'd probably do up to my you know, to just under my chest, and then that would be it. It wouldn't do up anymore. Or I could just not go in because there'd be nothing there for me to look at. I suppose you could maybe have like the least intimidating stock by the door and then move backwards in the shop, so as you go through it gets more and more intimidating, so all the climbing gear's at the back. Yeah, it's a really hard one, I suppose. From my point of view, and now with you know, people shop online so much more, is I would be doing my research before I go, because there's nothing worse than trekking over to a shop wherever and finding out that they haven't got your size, or they haven't got what you've seen in stock. So I'm a lot more savvy about going to a website, looking at the sizing charts, looking at the pictures, and that's a really simple thing that you can do, is having a diverse range of models as well, so you can see how different things fit on people. And I think if you get a good vibe from your online media, you perhaps would feel more comfortable about going into the shop. So if you knew that they had a bigger size range, like there was always one shop in Keswick that stocked footwear, outdoor footwear, up to a size 13. And it's always stuck with me for, 10, 15 years that I've lived up here. If you asked me, I could tell you straight away, which the shop was, because it was it was so out of the norm that someone would have feet that were size 13. So if you knew there was a shop that had outdoor clothing in sizes 18, 20, 22, that it would stay with you. So I think it's making sure that people know about it. And
as part of the marketing then.
As part of the marketing. Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
So
different shop models as well, the displays, if that demonstrated what you were selling.
Absolutely hear you with the intimidation aspect of it, because after speaking to you initially, I went to the Women's Trad Climbing Festival, which is a fantastic inclusive event down in the Peak District, and in the evening they just have fires up, and you just sit around, have a chinwag. Nobody knows anybody really, so you just feel comfy enough to go and talk to strangers. So I spent all evening on my weekend grabbing, well, not grabbing women, but just kind of engaging women in conversation and just asking them about their experiences going into shops and seeing what came back. And it was really interesting because there was a complete mix, but having never really considered our shops as being intimidating from the buying side of things, as in let's include all of this, let's make this available, let's chat with staff, and we've worked very hard. In fact, for the first time ever, not through actively trying, but it's just because more women have been wanting to come into retail, which has always been quite a rare thing. We've actually got 50-50 pretty much male-female staff ratios, both in Wales and in Ambleside, which makes, I think that just makes a big difference, and it makes a big difference to the dynamic of the shop as well. And how that feels. And I know if I'm working the shop floor, I will have a disproportionately large number of middle-aged women come and have a chat with me. And it might not even be about clothing. I had a 15-minute conversation about shiwis that we didn't have in stock at the time the other day.
I came into the Climbers shop in Ambleside on Sunday to pick up a jacket, which is fantastic. And one thing that I did notice was that you didn't have much stock out, but you had one in every size, which was quite nice to see, because I'm so used to going into places going 8, 8, 8, 14, 16, 20, and then loads and loads in like a really, really big size. So it was quite nice that you'd only got one of each, but you got one of every size, so at least you knew you'd be able to try something instead of having to go to ask for it, which can be embarrassing.
Well, that was a really key point that we got from the symposium, actually, and something I hadn't considered before, and that was in line with you saying, you get to a point where you just don't go in because it's just embarrassing. And another lady was saying she'd just go and look. She wouldn't even try anything on. She'd just take a walk around the shop, and she'd be just looking at the size cubes as she went round. And if there was nothing close to her size, that was it. She wouldn't talk to anybody. She didn't feel comfortable enough to do that. But if there wasn't anything of her size, she just walked around and out the door. And I just thought, we need to do something about this, because we need to just kind of think a bit more about how we can engage customers in feeling comfortable to have a chat. Now, part of that is also engaging with our staff to make sure they feel comfortable to have a chat. It's a two-way thing. And actually doing the symposium, having that recorded, we now use that as part of our staff training, and that's there and available for everybody to watch and to get an idea, so that they can just see things from other people's point of view. To be fair, our shops are very, very technical, and our general customer base is normally very athletic, but it's also very important to just be aware and just to have ways of opening up conversations and making that all part of being less intimidating. I think being a specialist retailer is part and parcel partly being a psychologist as well. You know, you have to take a lot of things into account, as well as just knowing your kit and being able to talk about stuff. It's feeling comfortable as well for both sides. You know, it's a transaction between two people, isn't it, when you come into a shop? And it's important to get that right with body language and with knowledge, and it's not something you can do online. I don't think, you know, you can't have an online chat and have that kind of rapport, or not, as the case may be, or maybe you get halfway through a conversation and think, do you know what, I'm actually going to get another member of staff here because I know they can help you better than I can, or maybe you're going to feel more comfortable with them, and having the confidence to step out of that sales role and pass it on to somebody that's going to help the customer and be more beneficial to the customer.
I guess, as Suzanna was saying, though, that there's a thing that strikes me from years ago, is having that "they look like me" thing, you know. So if the models, for using that phrase that you used, Suzanna, on the website, look like you are in different sizes, rather than being, I don't know, petite, shall we say? If it's just petite models, you know, showing a particular range, I suppose that could be quite off-putting, and then would be influence your buying decision or not.
So Mountain Equipment, as part of their response to the symposium, actively went out and recruited a plus size model, and they had a fantastic pool of people apply, and that really helped them shape the garments that they have made in larger sizes. So that's been really, really helpful. As far as us as a shop, it's quite tricky, because we have, I don't even know how many product lines we have. We did discuss this actually as a competition over the staff Christmas dinner. How many product lines do we have? It's a bit of a competition, but there's so many. So we don't actually do any of our own photography because we just can't physically do that. It's not something that we've got the time or the resources or even the expertise to do. So our product images come in from suppliers, and often they'll actually just be product. They won't necessarily be on someone. So when you've got however many jackets that we have in stock and garments, it's not a thing that's easy for us to do as a retailer. I think if you had your own brand, for Marks and Spencer's, they're in control of everything throughout. That's their brand entirely. That's a very different concept if you're a manufacturer as well. But if you're a retailer selling other brands, it's not always that simple.
Oh, it's dead interesting, isn't it? Yeah, I just went on the Mountain Equipment website just while you were saying that. It is just a jacket. There's a load of imagery that's people out in different conditions with them, but when you go and click on waterproofs, it is just a jacket that comes up, isn't it? But anyway, I just wanted to ask Suzanna, sorry, going back to, I guess, your experiences, and I guess one of the frustrations that I picked up on, I spent a bit of time working at the Alpkit shop in Ambleside, and hearing from different customers who were coming in was, I don't want a jacket in purple. And you know, it's like that. This year it is purple for women, and I don't want a purple jacket. Why can't I have a blue one or a grey one or a black one, which the men's range? So is that how, you know, is how important is that? Is it, does it, I guess a colour question is what would you like to see on that? Is it?
It's not overall it's not the biggest factor, because I want things to fit first and foremost, and then the color, and it's really subjective, isn't it? Because like the earthy tones and like mustardy tones have been really fashionable recently. Personally, it's not my style, but you know, I spoke to someone who absolutely loves them. And they want, you know, a sludge coloured jacket, and you know, and it's it's not me. I like neon, but there's going to be people that wouldn't want neon. You know, and the jacket that I've just picked up, it's navy. It's fine because it's going to get a lot of abuse. So actually, maybe I just want my neons to be like my posh going out down jacket, you know, rather than the one I take on the hill with me.
You're mincing about the mountain festival jacket.
Precisely, precisely. I had a discussion recently with someone about the outdoor fleeces becoming fashionable, and they just weren't buying it. That I've got my fashionable fleece, and I've got my, you know, the one that stays in my backpack. It's a thing. It is, honestly, it's a thing.
Yeah, absolutely is.
But I hate being stuck with the choice between it just being pink or purple or teal or whatever it is, or black. I think we just want to see, you know, brighter colours across the board. If you look at the stuff that you can get on the continent, they're a lot more savvy with their outdoors colours, you know, like ski colours. You know, and it's and Mountain Rescue love it if you wear something nice and bright, because then they can find you, you know.
They can see you, yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I don't know whether it's a particularly British thing that we like things that we've got outdoor clothing that's a bit more toned down, but for me, fit is first and foremost. But if it was my only choice was a jacket in pink, I wouldn't buy it, definitely not.
And that's the answer I was hoping for, to be honest. Was it's not colour that's got it, you know, I just want the fit to be right. It was, you
fit,
know, was
fit
where
first,
was
and everything else after.
Is there any extra features that you think women's clothing should have in the outdoors, or is it, you know, is everything that's on standard stuff? Does that work for you? And I mean, I'm asking that question for you as an outdoor professional as much as anything. No, he's looking like the answer to that question.
No, I was waiting for you to finish waffling and get to the point,
I know.
Wayne.
Well, it's just
That's the bloody question, man.
Is there any extra bits that you think you need on there? Like
yes, there is. Yes.
Yeah. And what would that be?
Yeah, I think probably more appreciation of lumps and bumps on women's bodies. So finding jackets that do up over boobs. A lot of women that are a little bit bigger in that area, they struggle with. And then a lot of the chest pockets. I find a chest pocket really useful for shoving like my mobile phone or a, you know, tin of lip balm, things like that. I like to have them handy. But the pockets are usually in the chest area, so they end up, you know, being quite far out or uncomfortable. And you don't always get a decent sized map pocket on a women's jacket either. So there's that. And I think there's a new brand that's come out, which name I should know what it is, but it escapes me anyways. And what they've put on the hips of the jacket is some zips with little expansion pockets, so that if you're just like a straight size, it fits fine. But if you're a bit wider in the hips, you can actually expand the jacket out a little bit to make it more comfortable, which is something that I'm a big fan of, because it's my hips are very wide and I often struggle to get a jacket done up. So yeah, having two-way zips on women's clothing would be really helpful, and not just for, you know, just standard sizing or plus sizing. You know, if you're pregnant and you might not change shape that much, but you might just need a little bit more room, so having a two-way zip would make more room in a jacket, certainly for you. I think I mentioned earlier about the rise in trousers, like they're never high enough. You know, so when you're bending over or you're stretching or, you know, things like that, you end up with a gape at the back. But I think just having the conversation with customers about what they're missing, because, you know, if you ask me, I'm going to tell you something. If you ask someone else, they're going to tell you another thing that is important to them. We just want a bit more of an equal footing, really. Whether it's, you know, just women's clothing, plus size clothing. A lot of the time, the men's clothing does tend to have more technical features, because apparently you're more adventurous than we are. But I don't think that's the case at all.
No, and actually that's something that because again we're quite rare in that where there's a male-female option in a garment or footwear, where that's available, we stock it. So we're as close to 50-50 as we can possibly be. And the majority of those items, I would say, are equally featured. I'm sure there's probably the odd one that isn't, but I would say the vast majority of those are equally
that's featured. I mean, that's potentially something that's changed in the past few years, because I certainly haven't bought as much outdoor clothing or technical clothing in the past few years. So when I was last buying a lot, there was a discrepancy. So that's an improvement then that I've not noticed, because I've not been going in the shops.
And I think also one thing that's impossible to see, but is a reality, is that the vast majority of technical clothing designers in the brands that we deal with are female.
Okay.
It's quite notable when you meet a department or you go on a supplier visit, and there's a lot, you can take a lot of confidence from that. It is working. It's always the balance, of course, is the design between the economic reality and what's actually sold, what sells through. Basically, that's the driver at the end of the day for any business. And but it's all really pushing in the right direction. Certainly in the 30 years I've been in technical outdoor retail, there's been huge strides, and it is all pushing in the right direction, very definitely. And we're seeing, I mean, even though we stock almost a 50-50 customer, female, male stocking and clothing and equipment and footwear, that is not indicative of what we sell. That percentage is far more skewed in the male direction. We sell far less women's technical clothing than we do men. However, we actually see that as a vital role as a specialist independent supplier, as a small business. It's my husband and I that take these decisions. We're like, you know what, if it's available, we should stock it. And that's part of our responsibility, we feel, as a specialist independent business, not least because the Joe Brown shops essentially were Val Brown shops. We've got a huge, female history within the shops, and it's very easy to forget that. So it's something that we feel very, very passionate about. If I go out in the hills or whatever we do with my husband, we're doing the same thing. We're out for the same amount of time, so therefore we need the same equipment. We might look a bit like Harold and Hilda because we're both wearing the same item, but why not? Because we're doing the same thing, so we need the same protection.
And which comes back to Susanna's opening point, I guess, doesn't it? It's about not wanting to be snobby, but you don't want to buy a regatta kit, which serves a purpose. But it's if you're going to be out for long days on the fells, you need kit that's going to survive. And it is a factor, isn't it? The more expensive stuff is more durable than the cheaper end, as well as being better from a technical perspective as well. Why should you have to buy stuff that doesn't do the job?
And certainly on wetsuits, problem that I ran into when I first started my business was not being able to fit everybody for a wetsuit, because they stopped at a certain wetsuits are not done by dress size like you would buy in a shop. They're done by body mass, so you need your height and your weight, and it calculates the mass and what wetsuit's going to fit you. And they stopped at around, I think it was around 85 kilos, something like that. It's not massive. And historically wetsuits came out of triathlon, so they were aimed at very sporty athletic people, and it was really hard to size people for wetsuits. So I was faced with a situation of having to say to people, well, you'll probably be all right without one, so just get in and swim without it, or you don't do the swim at all. So as a bigger person, you were having to really stand out, not just because of your size, but because you couldn't actually get the item that you needed to do the activity. And I'm a person that doesn't really like to swim in a wetsuit. I wear one when I'm working because it's personal protective equipment. It keeps me safe. But if I have, on my day off, I'm in the water in my swimsuit. That's my favourite way to swim. But you shouldn't have to swim in a swimsuit because there's nothing to fit you. You should still be able to wear something. And it's the same with outdoor kit. It would be nice to be able to have your choice of equipment and be able to have more technical stuff rather than just entry level. And the good thing is now that the wetsuit manufacturers have been quite quick to catch on. We've applied a bit of pressure on them, and now you can get wetsuits that are short and wide and medium wide. So they're not. So you don't need to be tall and big. You can be short and big, and there are wetsuits to fit you. And I think it's good that those manufacturers are looking at it as well, as the more technical sort of outdoor clothing ranges as well.
It's an interesting one. I can empathise on a very, very small level. I'm 6'6", I'm 95 kilos. So finding anything that fits my massive monkey arms and monkey legs is a real challenge, as well as my body. And that's my wetsuits always tend to come, like halfway up my arm, and just so I can get them onto. Otherwise, I never have had one that's been too big in the body, but they're always just too. So and it can be very, very frustrating just for me. I guess that's mostly I wear shorts Partly for that reason, I guess, when I'm outdoors. But yeah, you're like you're saying, your frustration is far broader than that minor frustration. That's for sure. That's for sure.
It's the wearing things out of necessity rather than because you want to, and I think everyone just wants to fit in, don't they? Well, some people like you with your pink jammers, they want to stand out, but for the vast majority, especially when we are on the subject of plus size, you perhaps do just want to blend in a little bit more, and you don't want to stand out against your contemporaries. So I mean, that's just my personal opinion, but
I noticed with your business, Suzanna, that it's not just outdoor swimming that you're offering. You've got obviously beginners classes and master classes and the get ready for winter class, which just reading it just made me shiver. But you also offer like yoga, walks and sailing as well in some of your courses, which looks
not sailing, no. So we get a boat and then we walk and then we swim. That's what you're talking? Wow. Yeah, that's what you're talking about.
So is that the steamer on Knowles Water?
Yes, that's right. Yeah,
right.
I was going to go into saying how I've diversified since I first started the business, because everyone knows how to swim outdoors now because people keep writing books about it. So I was starting to find myself a little bit surplus to requirements. So I kind of changed tack a little bit, and with how popular outdoor swimming became during the pandemic, I also noticed that there was a lot more incidents and near misses happening of people who weren't necessarily very experienced, were heading out into wild water but not equipped with perhaps all the skills that they might should have. So I've personally have put myself through a lot more training, done a lot more qualifications, and then started offering that to my customers as well. So I still do sort of all the fun stuff, all the walks and the swims in nice places, but I do a lot more education as well. So sort of sharing all the knowledge that I've got and passing it on to swimmers, just so that they can make their own decisions and keep themselves safe in the outdoors. And doing it at an accessible level, so it's small groups. I also do plus size only groups as well, so we can talk about things that might affect you differently as a person in a bigger body going into the outdoors. So I trialed them last year. They were quite successful, so I'll be doing some more of those this year. And doing swimming and yoga, which is a lovely combination.
Oh, yeah.
But the focus is less on sort of getting out there and thrashing yourself, and more just having a nice time, but being able to do it comfortably and safely. Whether you're going for a swim in the Lake District or you're going up a mountain, you're responsible for your own safety, and part of that is having the skills to know what you're doing and know what your limitations are, but having the right equipment as well. You can be the most intelligent and experienced person in the world, but if all your kit lets you down when you're out there, then it's a difficult situation to be in sometimes.
Well, that brings us very nicely round to kit and women's technical clothing and fit and function. Suzanna, thanks so much for your time. Really interesting. I know we're going to keep a dialogue open, well, probably forever now, just helping to promote the items we have and how we can help, and our continual strive to support people just getting outdoors, enjoying it, loving it, and just having a healthy lifestyle, at whatever level that may be, and having, as you say, the right kit to enjoy the outdoors safely.
Can I just add to that as well? You're saying about getting out and enjoying it any size. As plus size people do get quite a lot of flack in the media about being fat and putting pressure on the NHS and things like that. So yeah, if we want to get outside and do something about it, we still need clothes to wear. We're not going to do it in bin bags. So and sometimes it feels like you're fighting a losing battle, because you're being told to modify your lifestyle, be healthier, move more, but you need to have the right stuff to do it in. I don't want shoddy second rate elasticated clothing that just isn't fit for purpose. I want nice things that everyone else wears, so I can go out and do my park run, or run up go up a mountain, things like that. I want the nice things. So thank you for your support in getting the manufacturers to listen to us.
Well, step one, Tiny steps.
Yeah, baby steps. Yeah.
I was gonna, well, sorry, I was just wondering whether you'd actually already done that. I'm not able, to be honest, within what you said. So, yeah, thanks very much, Suzanna, for joining us. Amazing to see you as always. Amazing speaking to you as always. And that was episode 34, Women's Technical Clothing Fit and Function, with the amazing Suzanna Cruikshank. So you are available on social media at Suzanna Swims. Is that right?
For hire or reward.
Spell the name right. It's Suzanna.
You know what? When he passed on your email, Wayne said, always spell it with an H. Make sure you spell it
just to wind her up.
I
noticed he didn't attempt to try and spell Cruikshank. He's gone for the easy one.
Yeah.
Oh, fantastic. Well, you can find out more about our ranges up to size 18 and size 20 on our website www.climbers-shop.com. If you go onto the website, look at the left hand side, there's filters, so you can actually just go and choose the size 18-20, so you can find exactly what you're looking for straight away. We also have a whole host of information on how to keep warm in the outdoors, different types of clothing, how technical clothing works, footwear, as part of our Joe Brown Outdoor Academy website, which is full of free information, and also where you can go to hire fantastic instructors locally, including Suzanna. So you can find all that information at www.joebrownoutdooracademy.com.